Welcome to Born Political with your host, Joe Dela Cruz. When I just got the opportunity, I've always wanted to host a show and be in a studio and kind of be able to share my opinion with folks. And when I first got the opportunity, I thought, what would I name the show? And, a lot of people, when they hear the name Born Political, are going to think that this is just another show where a host sits down and just throws all of his opinions out and they're politicized either one direction or another. But that's not what I wanted my show to be about. I do interject my opinion a lot. I think a lot of folks out there know that about me. But what I really want to do is get to the bottom, first of all, of how I feel and how I got to the decisions that I make when I'm up there voting, the people that affected me in my life, why I think the way I do. And I think a show bringing on folks and just kind of digging in, there'll be local folks and community folks and some folks who may be able to come from Hartford or maybe around the world when the show gets really big, who knows. We'll do some interviews with people, and the fact is to get to the bottom of how they got to where they were. You see, because Born Political doesn't mean that you're a politician. To me, I think every human being on this planet is political. And it starts as early as when you're a baby. Your first political move is you're laying in your crib and you start crying. Maybe because you're cold or you're hungry or it's too hot. Your instincts tell you to do that. And then you're rewarded. You're rewarded with someone comes in the room and either picks you up and just hugs you, they feed you, they do whatever to get you to stop crying. And I believe that's your first political play, and then it just goes on from there. It could be when you're getting a bag of Halloween candy and you ride back at home and you're begging your mom or dad of negotiating how much candy you could eat that first night. And that will go on for 18 years until you're going to your prom and you're negotiating what time you get to come home, or are they going to let you stay at a friend's house that night? That's all political. My fear is in this country and in general, especially the last few years, we've been told to absolutely don't talk about politics at the table. That's been a saying since I was little, since my mom was little. It's don't talk about politics or religion because it just creates, fights. The only problem is when we do that, we're building these walls, these imaginary walls between two people that, to me, probably agree on 99% of the issues. But we're taking these one or two or three issues and just turning them into something that we cannot talk about. So when you finally get in a room to try to make a decision with another person, whether it's voting at a town council or you're trying to, raise money for a school, they can't even get together on those issues anymore because the issues become fights. And sometimes, we're both parties are responsible. The media is responsible. Sometimes they take issues and they hype them up to the point where you feel like that you can't even talk to sometimes family members because all this politics are in the way. We're going to dig down into each person, each guest, each week, and just find out where they are and where they came from. And I think that's going to help us get past some of these trying times because they're definitely there. And every day, I'm gonna update you. I am a state representative. Legislative session is going to be coming up this January. So there's going to be things that come up, bills that come up that I'll discuss and update you. You'll hear some bills in the news. Again, we have 156 legislators in my house. And in the end, anybody can put a bill in for anything. So you'll get the news to pick up some bills that will be very inflammatory, something that somebody really hates. And being a state rep, I have to answer for them if they're a member of my party and asking what the heck are you guys doing up there. So I'm encouraging all my state rep friends to don't put in bills that are ridiculous. Put in ones that you really want to go through. And so the goal of my show is to dig down and get inside the folks' head of where they came from. I think it's only fair that we start with me. Why do I think the way that I think? Why do I vote the way I vote? Am I empathetic? Am I not empathetic? Where do I get all my traits from? And how am I here today? So I started thinking about guests, and I've met a lot of people in Hartford that seen the way that I react politically, and I thought maybe they could give someone an idea how I am up there or somebody I work with. But then it's an aha moment. I mean, who knows more about Joe Dela Cruz than the person that gave birth to me? The person that really seen me from day one till now and seen me develop and do good and bad things in my life. So I want to introduce everyone. A lot of folks know her anyway because She talks as much as I do, maybe more. I got a lot of my talking skills from my mom. But one of the biggest skill that I think I did get was being a people person. We don't go anywhere without her finding out who's sitting next to us, even if they're strangers at a table. So without further ado, I want to introduce my mom, Deb Delacruz. Mom, welcome to the show, the first show.
Thank you.
Born Political.
Thank you very much.
So I put together some questions, and I emailed them to my mom. And anyone who knows that your mom and dad, you just don't think, you think of them as people, of course, you love them. But to sit down and ask them questions, you have to think about what their life was like. And my mom has had a pretty interesting life. My first question was, because when I think of politics, I think of how you negotiate and how you interact with other people. My mom is one of 9 siblings, one of 9, and she landed in Switzerland, right?
Exactly in the middle.
Exactly in the middle. So my first question, I guess, Mom, would be that. What do you think the position that you were born in had to do with how you are in your life? And you've become like the matriarch of the family in many ways.
I know, and I don't know how that happened.
The middle doesn't usually.
No.
I mean, it was the youngest in Godfather, I guess, but the middle,
Yes.
I think, what do you think it was?
I think because there were so many personalities in that house.
A lot.
There were 9 children and 3 adults, a grandmother and mother and father. So I think it had to do with I was in the middle and I saw everyone fighting, so I just said, yeah, I don't want to do that. So I was a peacemaker. I took care of everything. I made sure nobody was mad. You're mad? That's okay, we'll fix this. I was the fixer.
The fixer.
Yeah.
So I think that does hone your political skills.
It does.
But now, did you ever feel? And I was a middle child too, and of 3, so I landed in Switzerland too, but not as deep in Switzerland as you were. But I had an older brother to contend with and a younger sister. You ran the gamut. Now, like your older brother, he was much older than you. Right?
Yeah, I think Dennis is like 78.
Okay.
So it's not much older. They're much older when you're younger, but now I'm going to be 70 next month. So
Well, happy birthday, Mom.
thank you. And the youngest, Al, his birthday is today, and he's 59.
Wow.
I
saw that
know.
on Facebook. I got to wish him a happy
Yep,
birthday too.
happy
Uncle
birthday,
Al.
Al.
So oldest and youngest, so there is that spread. But really, 8 years, we say it means nothing because 8 years means nothing to us now as a 50-year-old person means nothing.
Right.
When you're young, you never went to school with your sibling that's
Right.
8 years older. So he was out of the house, moved on. and
He,
moved
both
right to
my
the-
older brother, both older brothers, they were one in the Army, one in the Air Force. It was during the Vietnam era.
Yep.
And I was always reading newspapers. So we had, you said we weren't allowed to, people don't want to talk politics. At our table, that's all we talked about. Politics, the war, Nixon, Kennedy. I knew more about politicians than any 8-year-old should know.
Do you think people talk more about politics back then than they do now? I mean,
I do. Well, I do also because I think back then, if you were a Democrat, you usually married a Democrat. If you were a Republican, you married a Republican. So the conversations were all pretty well formed. This is what you were going to talk about. Now, in our family, Jay's a Republican, I'm a Democrat.
yeah.
I'm a far liberal left Democrat, and he's a moderate Republican, but we have our arguments.
Yep.
And sometimes we agree not to talk about things.
And then Grammy and Grampy Davis. I know I didn't even know what their political affiliations were.
Yeah.
And I don't know. So it sounds like the conversations were political.
Very political,
And were they on the same sides?
all on the same side. Yes.
Democrats?
Both Democrat. My father would work 12 hours every day, 6 days a week. And my mother took care of houses, took care of old people. She did various jobs. But the thing I remember about my father one time is coming home from work after working on a Saturday all day long. He came home. There was a yard sale going on Bill Avenue in Groton, Connecticut. That's where we lived. And all us kids were running up to him, Dad, can we have a quarter? Can we have a quarter? Can I have a nickel? We even went down to a nickel. That man worked 12 hours a day from Monday through Saturday, and he didn't have a quarter in his pocket. And I remember, we left Groton when I was in kindergarten, so I was anywhere 5 or below, And I remember thinking to myself, you know what? You can work your butt off your whole life and not have a quarter in your pocket. And that, and talking about that today, I thought about it all day. I'm like, my God, that formed my opinion on social everything from that
I
point
think
on.
that I agree with that. I think if people are surrounded, if your father was worked and made tons of money, and you guys pretty much had everything you have, you wouldn't see that part of it. And
Yeah.
I think myself and my sibling, we obviously always were well fed, and but we struggled at times.
Oh, yeah.
But to see the struggle, I think creates empathy for people that you see going through it now.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why if people do try to vote, if they're in politics, that they really need to get to the nuts and bolts and find out how people are suffering. Because the people that are really rich and making it, they're gonna fend for themselves and be okay. I think it's to look and see how we can help the lower class or the middle class, or
Without making them feel like they're doing them a favor. It's
Exactly.
not a favor. I mean, my father worked all those hours, and then with my mother, she was our social care. This is what you have to believe. And vivid memory of her is when Cassius Clay decided to dodge the draft. Oh, at school it was terrible. Oh, what a horrible person he is. I got home, and that night at dinner, my mother's like, damn, he shouldn't go. Why is he going to go fight for this country when he can't even drink in the South, and he can't get a hotel room, and he can't, and we're all like, wow,
Yeah.
she's right. If it weren't for him, I think a lot of those things wouldn't have hit our life. We wouldn't have known.
No, it's amazing when you watch a movie or watch a show about it. People talk about political courage or human courage.
Absolute
and
courage.
That's a person that just
That
could have had a very great
he could
career.
have done
and
wonderful.
He did. He
could
had
have-
a great career
he could-
anyway.
But he could have went in service and boxed.
He could have. And he
But
not would have.
he
Yep.
stood up for all my friends who went to Vietnam. I mean,
Yeah.
I know many who were there, and it was horrible. And they came home to what? They can't get jobs. They can't. I mean, if the color of your skin is the only thing holding you back, you have the education, you have the personality, you have everything about you is really wonderful, but you're not the right skin tone. That's heartbreaking.
And we've come a long way since then. And
And still yet, we have far, far, far to
Yep.
go. I worry about my grandchildren. I'm terrified for them with this.
Yep.
I mean, I have black great-grandchildren.
you do.
What are they going to be like? What are they going to have? And they're going to be here for another half a century or more.
Yep.
What are we leaving them?
Yep. And
What are we leaving them?
That's what we're going to get down to.
Yeah.
We're gonna figure it out, and
I hope
hopefully this
so.
show has something to do with making people change their opinions, or just seeing it from a different angle, seeing something from a different angle. So, you were surrounded by family your whole life with nine, and even cousins, and everyone lived close to each other. And I have 24 first cousins as a result of Graham having 9 children. My father had 4 on their side.
Right.
So we have this enormous family, and I haven't been out of New London or Groton for more than 10 days in my whole entire life. I didn't go to school anywhere. I didn't go to college. I worked, and I bought a house in New London, bought a house in Groton. We've just always have been here. I wonder how you felt being surrounded by family, then becoming a military mom.
Yeah.
Taking off, I guess Texas was the first stop, because that's where my brother was born.
Yep, El Paso.
And then second stop, Germany, or
Yeah.
third, I don't know what stop, and that's where I was born, in Germany.
Yeah.
Which I always grew up thinking, feeling different, feeling cool, because I was born in Germany. It shocks everybody when I tell people that, but was it scary? I mean, so you're out there, I say all alone, but you have family, and you have friends that you call family that you met in the service.
Right. When I left, I flew to El Paso. And I remember getting on that plane thinking, man, this is the coolest thing I've ever done my entire life. I got there the first night, I cried all night long. My sister Ginger and I still shared a bedroom. My sister Mary Ellen and I and Ginger, the 3 of us were in one bedroom, a full bed and a twin bed for Mary Ellen. So it took me probably a month to get used to being alone, because Dad would work.
Yeah.
So all day long, I could do whatever I wanted, and it was odd. It was very odd. I didn't have someone going, Deb, do this, do this, do that, and it was empowering somewhat. I
Was it?
enjoyed it.
Yep.
Yeah, I found out I enjoyed it. But then we went home for Christmas because we wanted to get the car, so we brought the car down to Texas.
A car has four wheels and people driving it. We're not in Boston, Mom.
A
I'm
car.
kidding. She has a Boston accent. I pick up some words too, but I have to.
So we drove to Texas, and by that time I had a lot of friends.
Yep.
It was chaotic down there. It was so much fun. People in and out of each other's apartments and houses. It was just a blast. We had a ball.
And was a culture shock down in Texas for you? Because that was.
Do you know, it really wasn't, because I read all the time when I was a kid, and I had an imagination you wouldn't believe. I used to ride up and down our gravel driveway and pretend I was in Kansas or in Mexico, and I had the big Mexican sombrero that every kid owned. And it was just, to me, it was amazing, absolutely amazing. I loved it.
But you say you could describe yourself as a liberal Democrat. To go down to Texas in 1969 or 1970, it was.
I was shopping one time in this cute little shop. Well, all I could really afford for Gabe when he was little were bibs and little bottles and stuff. So I'm shopping and I'm talking to my friend Maria, and this woman grabbed my arm and she terrified me, because I also thought, we're in the South, chain gang, gonna be arrested.
Chain
You know,
gang, yeah.
I told you I had a great imagination. So I'm sitting there going, I'm in trouble. I'm thinking she thinks I shoplifted or something. And she goes, where y'all from? I said, Connecticut. She says, oh, y'all sound like Bobby Kennedy. I said, he's a cousin. And Maria's looking at me, you're related to the Kennedys? I said,
Oh.
I said, we're the poor side of the family, but I knew she wouldn't throw me in jail, because then it'd get in the paper.
Oh yeah. Well, so you tell white lies. I do too.
All the
Yeah.
time.
When I first met my wife, Tammy, we were dating for maybe a couple months, and then we went over a picnic, and I met her mom, and she asked me where I was born, and I said I was born in Germany. But I also told her I was born inside of an army tent, like that looks like a MASH tent. And I just did it just because, I don't know why. I was having fun with her. So it gets more serious, and then our relationship, and we have a family gathering. Both of us get together, both families. And the first thing my wife's mother does is run up to my mom and say, my God, I could see having a baby, out of country is scary enough, but you had Joe inside of a tent, like a military tent? And my mom says, no, because I never told her the white lie, and she wouldn't have went along with it anyway. But she found out quickly that it was a very, very good hospital in Germany, right?
Very
With
good
walls and
hospital.
ceilings and everything, and air conditioning.
It was one of the best. It was in Würzburg, and it was a beautiful hospital. You were so bad.
I am. But so how was that out in Germany? So now you're still this young family. You have Gabe's a baby, and then what, 2 years old, and then I'm born, and
Yeah.
now you're in a different country. Did
It
you any of the
was fun.
friends come from Texas or no?
No, we actually lost touch with all of them. They just, we spread out. Two of
Yeah.
them went to Vietnam, someone went to San Antonio, so it was all. But it was in Germany where I met Doris.
Yeah.
She didn't want to be my friend, I found out.
Oh, she did.
No, we were in the laundromat, and I was talking to her all the time, and one of my friends said, yeah, she's afraid that because everyone from Connecticut's rich. And I said,
We still get that.
we still get that. I still get that.
Yeah.
And so we became fast friends. We're still best friends. Not my best friend. And it was just the best time of my life. I didn't even want to come home.
From Germany.
I knew when we came home things would change, and they did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was just fun. We traveled all over. We went everywhere we could. We had fun and made best friends.
Yeah. So when you're thinking about asking your mom questions, that a lot pop in your head. I did send her them in advance because she's like, she knows who I am, and then maybe
I didn't want to be surprised.
Yeah, and I'm not going to surprise you. I'm asking you questions I have on the list because I don't want to get in trouble. But without digging super deep in political issues, when you look for a candidate for for someone that you want to vote for, whether it's Board of Education or what are you looking for? I know we all say, everyone says, oh, you're gonna look for Democrat first, but I've heard you speak highly of Republicans. I have myself too. People that I know that I trust.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you're looking for someone, I know you always say talk to people, and that's what I've always done. And,
Right.
And when you're choosing or you're trying to figure it out.
I want someone who thinks like me. I want someone who is empathetic, and when we're speaking, he'll say something like, yeah, did you see that nice girl? She's broke, we helped. And there's just things, you can tell. And if you don't have that empathy and you don't have that outgoingness and that, I don't know, it's just, you get a feeling, And I've voted Republican. I don't know that I would anymore right now because I'm kind of mad at all of them. But
it makes it difficult sometimes when you're going
But
through.
then-
But again, I think the difficult part is we're really solid on some of these issues and solidly mad and solidly in our corner on a lot of different issues. But when the folks that I know and you talk to them, and they're not no from either side. I mean, you could see it now. When Trump was president, I heard a lot of Democrats saying that the world was going to end. That and maybe it came close. But then on the other hand, now that Biden's president, I actually get the same feeling that people think that this country's going to end. It's like, but I know being in the middle that there's a lot of stopgaps. That whatever we thought one president can do, they can do an awful lot of damage. I agree with that. But there's also a lot of people that are in the middle that can kind of stop some of the things that we think are crazy or they think are crazy. But to have that opposite feeling about the same person that are running our country, it's so, and that's why I'm trying to get to the
we're
show
so
where
polarized, it seems like you can't get together. I think I could vote for a Republican now if they actually stood back and said, everything that man stood for, I don't stand for.
Yep.
And that's the only, I can't even imagine doing otherwise. But local politics is different. I think they're more apt to, some of the Republicans I know, they're like, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. The polarization is horrible.
And I saw you, and the reason I thought you'd be a great guest is because there was polarization in a family of 9, right? I mean, and sometimes it involved throwing stuff, and
Oh my
I
gosh.
remember my uncles fighting when I was young. They would, and just like me and my brother, we fought. So I mean, who best to kind of figure out how do we solve this, and how do we move forward? And I'm sure it's not going to be all from one side. They're going to say, well, you admit to this and we'll admit to that, and maybe we meet in the middle. And I don't know how we get there, because it does seem like we're so far apart that it's impossible, but it can't be impossible because it has to happen.
You have to remember, you cannot change someone's mind just by beating the hell out of them.
No.
You can't. And so I think I try to do, especially Facebook. Let's take Facebook. And in our family, we have some anti-vaxxers. I just keep trying to give them the stuff I have. I'm not going to judge them. Yeah. He really feels, or they, it's more than him, it's a bunch of people, they feel that way.
Yeah.
Is it smart? Probably not, but I'm not going to beat him up.
And I think
That's his opinion.
It's all through education, and that's the only way that you can. And sometimes, if folks are not looking for, if they're looking for one answer, I can go on the internet and Google something in a certain way that will give me the answers I want. I think that people need to open themselves up for the answers that are out there. And
yeah.
As far as the vaccination thing goes, I just tell people, listen, I'm a sheet metal worker, and I'm also a politician. 2 people that you don't want to ask about your health care. 2 professions. So if you have a question about your health care, I just tell people to call your personal physician. Ask them if they think that you should get the shot or not. Don't ask the guy that you work with or the welder sitting next to you. I work in a weld shop. I make sure people understand that, because if you got diagnosed with cancer tomorrow, the last thing you would do is call your state representative or your buddy at work. You would go to your personal doctor or a professional. And I hope people do that, but take politics out of it completely and go to your doctor and see what they say. And you can either take their opinion or not, but that's what I would do. We only have a few minutes left, Mom. I didn't get to ask this question. I want to make sure I got it. and I think I know the answer, but maybe I don't. Who was the most influential person in your life when it came to your political views, but also I'd say in your life, like someone that you really
My mother.
100%.
100%.
I,
She was an amazing woman. She was a Yankee. She, for every circumstance that she had for every action you had, she had a circumstance. And a person who happened to have that problem,
oh yeah,
you want to stick your arm out of a bus window, she knows someone who had her arm taken off.
yeah. One of the biggest lessons I remember from Grammy, and most of the things that I learned in my life did not come out of a book. And our family were very animated.
And verbal.
And verbal, and we tell stories, and we talk a lot. And Grammy Davis one day had my brother and I each in one arm, and we were walking into the S&S Kresge. We were going to eat there. Remember, they had the bar.
Counter.
And there was a guy laying on the ground, homeless, sleeping right in front of the place.
It was with Robbie.
Yeah, and she looked, and Gabe said, "Hey, look at that homeless guy. He's look at a bum. He's a bum." And I started giggling, and Grammy took us both by our arms and sat us and looked us right in our eyes and talked like you did, and just said, "Everyone is one decision, one health mistake away, an accident. Who you don't know that person. You don't know who he is. That could be your uncle sitting there." And I think Grammy's empathy came from seeing all the stuff that's happened in her family and life. So to see her own grandkids look and
disdain
laugh,
at someone.
it hurt her, and she put it in a very good way, just saying that could be you.
Yeah.
And would you want some young kids laughing at you? And the answer was no.
No. And she did that in every situation. You knew exactly how she felt when it came to any time you laughed at anyone. I mean, anyone. She'd say, "You're like one incident away from that happening to you."
Yeah.
And that always, I mean,
It sticks with you.
yeah.
And if you, and in my mind, if anybody wants to do the right thing in their life, or they want to do something right, follow what Grammy did. That's what I would tell. What would Grammy Davis do? So, and she's not with us anymore, but fortunately, I still believe that she is.
Yeah.
Because she definitely impacts life decisions that I make, that you make, and I could easily ask a question to Grammy Davis if I'm going to do something I think I should or shouldn't do without her here, and I know her answer. And I think that's important for people out there to do. They say, "I wish I had my dad to help me make this decision," or my mom, or my best friend. If they were your best friend, mom or dad, you know what they would have said. So just ask the question. Maybe write it down and fill it out, because you'll have the right answer. I think we're getting close to running out of time. We're right near the edge. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
I was thinking of what you said as a baby laying in a crib and crying and getting your needs met. You can only hope that every child has that. And that doesn't happen. And that's another issue that we need to do more of. We need to do better, being better teachers.
That's what's funny,
on
because
being a parent.
when I wrote that, I thought the same thing, that you get, but your political and your views get changed if you didn't get picked up.
If you didn't get picked up,
fed.
exactly. And so you need to be aware of that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for our show, the first show, Born Political with Joe Dela Cruz. My mom, I want to thank you, Mom, for being a guest.
You're welcome.
And hopefully one day we're doing this on ABC or something. Who knows?
Oh, yeah. I pray not.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Until next time.
Good night.